Tisztelt Hölgyeim és Uraim! Szeretettel köszöntöm Önöket, és köszönjük a Budapest Városfejlesztési Műhelynek a lehetőséget erre a beszélgetésre. Engedelmükkel én most angolra váltok, a beszélgetés nyelve, ahogy a felvezetőben is említették, angol lesz. So, welcome in Budapest. Welcome Mr. Stumpf, Ms. Bagashvili. It's good to have you here. We are now beginning the closing panel discussion of this conference, entitled Urban Development Trends in European Capitals, Stability, Identity and Community Interest. Our aim today is to use the examples of Tbilisi and Vienna to explore how long-term urban stability, preservation of historical and cultural identity, and the interest of local communities can be brought into alignment. So, my first question goes to both of you, and I would like to ask you to briefly summarize what do you see as the most important current urban development dilemma in Tbilisi and Vienna. So, Ms. Bagashvili, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Ladies first. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm truly grateful for the invitation to this important conversation. The theme of this conference couldn't be more timely because understanding how our cities evolve, how we govern them, and how we sustain their unique identities is essential for every capital navigating rapid change in the 21st century. So Tbilisi is no exception. Like many capitals, it stands as a turning point, seeking to balance growth, livability, and sustainability within institutions that themselves are still evolving. So I would say that the main urban development dilemma that Tbilisi is facing today is that Tbilisi is still a heavily traffic-oriented, like car-oriented city, but demand for quality public space and clean mobility is rising fast. So our dilemma is how to shift from car dependence to a balanced, people-centered mobility model without creating short-term disruptions and discomforts for people. Development pressure increases traffic, while residents demand for stability and livability. So that's, I would say, is the main dilemma for Tbilisi. And it's really interesting to hear it from Vienna, because we are thriving to be like Vienna, and it's really interesting for us what your problems are and dilemmas.
So Mr. Stumpf, Vienna is often hailed as a number one, most livable city around the world. Yet you also have your own challenges. Where do you see the most current issue when it comes to urban development in your city?
First of all, I want to thank you for the invitation, and it's always a pleasure to be in this wonderful city, Budapest. It's not as far away to Vienna, but I like the road, I like the infrastructure to Budapest, and I love the city very, very much. But the question was about Vienna. For Vienna, I would still say, yes, it is a very successful city. Yeah? If you're looking at Vienna, you can say many things still work well. But Vienna is also living more and more from old strengths. The biggest dilemma is, how do we manage growth and densification without losing stability and quality of life for the people who already live in the city? We have very strong economic interests, investors, big developers, and sometimes even city-owned companies. They often push for large projects and higher density. On the other side, we have local communities. We have local communities who want peace, green areas, parking, and an affordable flat. The balance is not always fair. Very often the economic side wins. So from an opposition point of view, because I'm a politician, a member of the council, but as opposition, I can say planning in Vienna has also become very ideological. Very ideological. Under labels like smart city or climate neutral, the city sometimes makes project that sounds good. It sounds good in strategy papers. But create problems on the ground. They create problems on the ground, for example, when parking is removed without alternatives, or when green hills are step by step built over. Housing affordability, for example, is of course a very strongly discussed project, but not as the first question in Vienna. We rarely start with what can a normal young family in Vienna, a nurse, a policeman, really pay for rent or for buying a flat. And we almost never connect it honestly with strong population growth and migration. That's a very big point in Vienna. So in theory, affordability, it is always mentioned, always, but in practice, many new projects are still too expensive for normal people.
So if we go to housing affordability, how does this play into the policies of Tbilisi? And of course, your experience in urban traffic, in urban connections. This is also a big part. How can people coming from affordable housing still reach their jobs? That's an ongoing debate wherever you go in big cities. What's your perspective in Georgia?
Unfortunately, that's quite a challenge for Tbilisi as well. Unfortunately, uncontrolled densification without infrastructure, especially transport, as you mentioned, drives up both housing and mobility costs. So our approach is to align development with access to public transport and avoid car-dependent sprawl. That is also a very big problem now in Tbilisi because there's so many, in the 90s, the reform of privatization, like after communist regime, has resulted in many private lands that are outside the city center. And now these people, as the economy grows, now these people demand for their lands to be developed. And this urban sprawl is quite a problem and challenge that we face today. And our government faces, and of course we try our best to manage it and balance it with the infrastructure and transport, so the housing problem could be solved. Yeah.
So the historical fabric and identity of a city can play a big role in the quality of life of people living there, but also the capability of that city to bring in tourism and new businesses into the city fabric. And how would you consider the defining urban identity? What describes the best your cities in Tbilisi and Vienna today? And how are these elements of identity reflected in recent major urban development projects? Because Budapest has transformed, as you as well mentioned, in the last 15 years. What are your experiences? What kind of role does it play in your everyday life in Vienna and Tbilisi? Mr. Stumpf.
When people think about Vienna, they think most of the time of three things, above all. When they think about Vienna, they think about the imperial inner city. They think about the Gründerzeit buildings from the 19th century. And they think about the traditional Heurigen areas on the hills. But these are not just tourist images. They are also the reasons why many people choose to live in Vienna. They are important for our Viennese identity and for tourism income, of course. But I can see also here a problem. These parts of Vienna are not protected and supported strongly enough. What does it mean? when a new building is constructed today, it often has no character at all. So you can miss every kind of character you would like to have. In the worst case, it has very modern shapes and colors that do not fit into the old street. Little by little, Vienna loses the special face that made the city famous. We also see very large and tall projects, including high-rises in places where they do not fit the traditional cityscape. So the standard argument I hear is always, yeah, density is always good, and if you criticize it, you are nostalgic, you are conservative, and so on. But many residents feel that their familiar Vienna is disappearing day by day. So from my point of view, initiatives that want stronger protection for Gründerzeit structures or clearer design rules get too little support from political side. If we are serious about identity, we cannot only protect the postcard city center and do whatever we want in the other districts. We need a clear long-term plan. Where do we strictly conserve? Where do we carefully adapt? And where can we allow very modern buildings? Always with real participation of the local community.
Ms. Bagashvili?
Yeah, as you know, Tbilisi has a really big historic heritage. It's the city of 15th century, and its identity is built on a remarkable historical tapestry, like shaped by European as well as Caucasian influences. Preserving this depth of character while meeting the expectations of a dynamic and modern capital is one of our central challenges, because economic growth often threatens historical identity. So urban development in Tbilisi, we think that urban development in Tbilisi must strengthen, not erode, its architectural and social heritage. Like our work increasingly focuses on integrating mobility, urban design and public space to create environments that feel distinctly Tbilisian. That's what tourists like vibrant, diverse and human-scaled. And of course, it's a challenge balancing this modernization with heritage, but yeah, I think that it's our long-term plans work for it, and I think we'll be successful in balancing it.
When we're talking about the quality of life of people living in big cities, of course, one of the most important issues is economy. And cities are not just places to live, but hubs for economical development, for businesses to meet, for people to find their jobs, start their lives, study for university students, visit as tourists, and become regional and national centers of knowledge, of market, of the market economy, manufacturing and services. But as you mentioned, a lot of challenges that face this kind of role of what a city plays in a national economy. And where do you see how can Vienna and Tbilisi improve their competitiveness in the world stage?
I'll be first, okay? Yeah, you're right, I agree with you, but Tbilisi is actively strengthening its economic competitiveness by implementing long-term urban development projects, improving infrastructure, mobility, and modernizing municipal services. By focusing on people-centered development, sustainability, and regional connectivity, we aim Tbilisi to remain dynamic, attractive urban centers in the region that will be attractive for tourists and for people who live there as well, and for businesses as well. I would like to mention that we are implementing and piloting, as well as Vienna, I think, super block projects that effectively affects local businesses in the districts, and it makes local economy work much better and more successfully. So it would be really interesting to hear it from you, as we think that you are more successful in this and far from on the stage that we are now.
Mr. Stumpf?
Vienna has many strengths for competitiveness. We all know the high quality of life and, of course, good basic infrastructure, strong universities, culture, and relatively safe streets. Relatively, not as safe as Budapest, but let's say it's okay. Yeah, the city also markets itself as a hub between Western and Eastern Europe. But competitiveness is not only about rankings and slogans. It is about whether families, skilled workers, and small and medium-sized businesses can still afford to live and work here in Vienna. One structural problem is the very large and complex city administration. We have a big municipal machine. It is expensive and it is very bureaucratic. This costs a lot of money each year and often slows private investment, for example, when permits take a long time or rules change often. From my point of view, there is too little will to simplify and to focus on core tasks. At the same time, the city's financial situation has become worse. Vienna has built up extremely high debts and now has to save money. And many budgets, for example, for districts, Vienna has 23 districts, and for the districts, the budgets are frozen. They are completely frozen at the moment. That means less money for small local projects. That also means less money for greening projects, school surroundings, or traffic safety. And ordinary people also feel a loss of purchasing power. So when we talk about the fact that prices for food and daily products are clearly higher than in many neighboring countries of Vienna, and at the same time the city raises many of its own fees and tariffs for public transport, for parking and for other services, while prestige projects and the administration stay expensive. Citizens and small businesses are asked to pay more and more. Then that's an unfair situation. For me, a truly competitive Vienna would look absolutely different. A leaner administration instead of constant growth of bureaucracy, strong support for SMEs, so small and medium enterprises, thank you, Márton. Predictable taxes and fees, and a clear goal to protect the purchasing power of residents, not to treat them as a permanent cash machine. But this is what the socialists can do the best. Treating people like cash machines. Yeah, I must say it in this way. That's my opinion. I hope I'm not hurting someone's feelings here in the room. Yeah.
We have the famous quote from Margaret Thatcher. Socialism is only as good as long as you don't run out of other people's money. But when we're talking about cash machines, ATMs, or cash cows, as the Americans would say, one of the biggest challenges and one of the most important roles a city can play is traffic. And we in Budapest can talk about a lot about traffic. It's a huge challenge here as well. And there are a lot of ongoing debates circling around this topic. And this is one of the most important issues that an everyday citizen, where do they meet with the services of a local council, a local government, is public transport and the traffic in general. Or I can say the infrastructure surrounding the traffic. And therefore I would like to ask you, what is your overall vision in your cities when it comes to traffic developments, when it comes to managing the future of traffic, when we talk about EVs, public transportations, ICE, so internal combustion engines, bicycle lanes, and so on. It's a very complex topic, I know, but if you can give me the overall vision you have in Tbilisi and Vienna, and then we can talk a little bit about the practices as well.
It's going to be quite an interesting topic because we had a short talk before the panel, so we are on a very different stages in our cities. In Tbilisi, as I already mentioned, it's the most car-oriented city, car-dependent city. So the mayor, Kahakaladze, when he was elected first in 2017, he established this transport policy that the city had never had before. That said that humans are more important than cars and prioritized public transport and pedestrians and cyclists first before cars. It's the most unpopular thing that the mayor can do, but I think the most important one. Our priorities are public transport first, for sure. I can say that it's for sure. We are working on metro expansion. The mayor was here in the afternoon, and he already said that we are working on metro expansion. We are making a new tram line. Tbilisi had historically tram lines, but unfortunately we don't have any more. So we are making a new tram line that you have in Vienna. I used to live in Vienna, and I know that public transportation is the best or one of the best in the world. We try to have more and more modern buses. We have already renewed the whole fleet, but it's not enough, and we are adding more. And we are also implementing minibus reform, as well as we want to eliminate or not just decrease car dependency. So we are also working on parking reform. It's a parking. We have already implemented this system that prioritizes residents rather than the visitors, and we are also trying hard to enforce parking. Also, we are working on street rebalancing or street redesigning. We are implementing more and more dedicated bus lanes, bike lanes, and safer spaces for pedestrians, because there are so many places, even today in Tbilisi, that you can't walk safely, you can't cross the road safely, unfortunately. I think there are the most amount of underground crossings. I haven't met any in other countries or cities. And for sure I want to mention that we prioritize long-term planning. This is the first time that Tbilisi has its first transport strategic plan. It has never happened before, and we have it now like for the next 30 years, and our goal is to decrease the amount of cars in the city and to decrease the dependency on private cars. We are on this stage. It's challenging, it's unpopular. It's really sometimes hard to gain political decisions for reforms because, as I said, it's unpopular, but I think that it's essential, and as we are thriving to be more resilient, livable city, we have to go through these challenges and make it happen.
Mr. Stumpf, what's your overall vision about the traffic, public transport topic in Vienna? As it was mentioned, Vienna is often held, once again, as one of the best in the world in this regard. But before we had a conversation, before this panel, you mentioned there are some challenges you have, of course. And then after your overall vision, please feel free to highlight a few important projects you see for your city.
Vienna has a strong starting point in mobility. Yeah, that's true. The public transport network is dense and many people use it every day. So I also use it every day, maybe almost every day. In theory, the city could be a model, but the current strategy creates many conflicts. I'm talking about the vision of the Viennese parliamentary group and government, because one key point is the very strong focus on bicycle infrastructure. The political idea is if you build many cycle lanes and at the same time make driving and parking harder, people will slowly move to the bike. And this is a kind of social engineering. I don't want that kind of political vision. It ignores the real needs of many groups in Vienna. For example, families with several children, elderly people, people with disabilities, craftsmen and small businesses. These people cannot do their daily lives on a bicycle. Still, we see working road networks being cut, turning lanes removed and important streets narrowed to create bicycle highways. A lot of money goes into these projects. At the same time, the city invests huge sums into the new metro line U5 metro project. The costs have exploded and the building of the new U5 line has been stopped. A few weeks ago. The city now stretches the opening over many more years because of budget problems. While this big project eats money, some tram and bus lines still run in summer without air conditioning, and very old vehicles are still in daily use. And many citizens ask, why do we have money for prestige projects or for a very expensive new market hall, for example, but not for basic renewal of vehicles and lines? On top of this, ticket prices for public transport are now rising extremely. The yearly pass, for example, which for many years was advertised as €1 per day, so 365 euros per year, will go up clearly. Parking fees also rise, while on-street parking is systematically reduced. And instead of modern garages or good park and ride at the city border, the main focus is simply to remove parking. All of this fits into the official climate strategy of the government of Vienna. The city wants far fewer cars by 2030 and 2040. It discusses special rules for SUVs and is looking for ways to make car ownership less and less attractive. So from my perspective, this is the wrong balance. A good mobility strategy would continue to improve public transport, yes, of course. Support walking and cycling, yes, of course. But also accept the fact that many people and businesses still need a car. It would invest in park and ride systems and garages and in smarter traffic management on main roads and riverbanks instead of intentionally blocking working roads. Climate goals should be reached by better technology and good networks, not by punishing people who depend on the car. That's the green agenda, and I don't support this agenda.
I want to say that, as I mentioned, it's very interesting from our perspective, the dilemmas that you have now. But I would ask, like, what do you think? Where would you be today? Like, where would the city be today if there was not this policy of like against cars, like 50 years ago? Because you went through this way that we are going through now, and it was like decades ago, and I think that it was the only choice that the city could have chosen in order to be here for you where you are, like in order to be Vienna, the city like it is now.
I understand your point of view, but 50 years ago they have chosen an extreme way or an extreme solution, everything for cars. Now, 50 years later, it's the another extreme of nevertheless no cars, carless city, everything for bicycle. We need a healthy relationship between one group and the other group. It's not always thinking in extremes. Yeah? Political discussion and visions and strategies must always implement a healthy, da musst du mir jetzt helfen, Menschenverstand. Mondja magyarul? Nem is tudom, hogy mondják magyarul. Józan ész, józan paraszt ész, az kéne az embereknek. Az kéne. Főleg a politikusoknak. Józan paraszt ész.
So common sense policies. I think I can suggest you to the organizers to organize a conference specifically on traffic and invite our two guests for that one as well. But to move on from traffic, so I wanted to talk about tourism. Both of your cities are very similar to Budapest in terms that they have a rich cultural heritage and they attract a lot of visitors each and every year. And I think it's very important to balance out the needs of local businesses when they're focusing on tourism, as well as people living in the city, because we have seen in Barcelona and in a lot of other cities how this overflow of tourism can cause a lot of debates and tensions within a city. How do you see, how can take this economic opportunity and balance it out with the needs of everyday people living in your cities? Ms. Bagashvili.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Tbilisi has a rich history and of course tourists, it's attractive for tourists. We view tourism as part of wider city planning, especially mobility, heritage protection and neighborhood management. Pedestrianization, we think that tourists today in Tbilisi face the same challenges as the people who live there. So the main challenge, as I said, is traffic and pedestrianization. Yeah, we really have a huge problem of traffic. Like imagine Vienna, as I said, 50 years ago, that's what we are going through. That's the main problem for everyone who lives there. So pedestrianization pilots and improved public transport access aim to prevent overcrowding in the old town and spread visitors across the city. So this is how we see it and how we try to balance it.
Vienna is clearly a tourism city. The culture, the music, museums, and also, of course, congresses bring many visitors. In its strategies, the city now speaks more about the visitor economy and tries to connect tourism with wider urban development. That is positive in principle, but we also see typical problems of large tourist cities. The risk of overcrowding in the historic center, many short-term rentals like Airbnb, and of course nightlife that sometimes clashes with the interests of residents. So let me give you an example. When souvenir shops and international chains replace traditional businesses, the city still looks pretty, but it becomes less authentic. And from my perspective, tourism policy it has to be very clear. Residents come first. Residents come first. You cannot talk about livability and then ignore noise, ignore litter and security issues in the name of tourism income. You also cannot ignore the effect of thousands of holiday apartments and on housing prices in inner districts, So I would argue for strong rules for short-term rentals, focus on quality tourism that respects the local culture, and reinvesting part of tourism revenue in cleaning, maintenance and security in the areas that carry the biggest burden. Only then is tourism really part of healthy urban development.
So, we are closing this panel very soon. We are nearing the end of our time for this discussion. But as a closing question, I would like to ask both of you, what kind of message do you have for Budapest and other cities in the region? What's the most important takeaway and experience you could share with the citizens of Budapest and attendees in this conference for today? Ms. Bagashvili.
Yeah. I want to say that I hope that after like 50 years, I'll be the one who say that the city should reduce bike lanes and cut bike lanes for car lanes. Thank you for this conversation. It was really helpful. I want to thank the organizers of the conference for the opportunity to share our experience and to hear your experience and to share this knowledge, because I think that we must learn from each other. We have many things to learn from you and other European developed cities that we are aiming to look alike in terms of urban and transport development. Cities are laboratories of change. Their governance, infrastructure and identity must evolve together if they are to remain resilient and people-centered. At the Tbilisi Transport and Urban Development Agency, we are committed, and at the City Hall generally, we are committed to shaping a modern, inclusive and sustainable urban model rooted in our history but oriented boldly toward the future. So I think that the message to Budapest and to everyone is that we should be more like governments. I think I will speak from the perspective of the government, that we should be more close to people, to listen to them and to discuss every aspect and every plan with them, so that they be aware of the city, of the issues they have. So thank you again for inviting me at this conference and platform.
Thank you very much. Michael. What's your short message to Budapest?
Try to make it short. If you look at Vienna, my main lesson is simple. A city needs the courage to be itself. That means stability, identity, community interests come together only when politicians accept that. Not every global fashion must be copied. Quick wins for investors or ideology can destroy long-term assets. We should avoid two extremes. Yeah? A city that is driven only by investors and real estate interests, and the other side, a city that is used as a laboratory for ideology, for example, for radical traffic or climate experiments. In both cases, normal people feel the city is no longer theirs. My message to Budapest and other cities in the region would be: protect what is unique in your urban landscape and your culture. Keep life affordable and safe for your own citizens, and take participation seriously, not as public relations, but as a real control of power. If we do this, if you do this, competitiveness and modernization will follow, and people and businesses like cities that respect their own identity and the everyday needs of their residents. So keep fighting, fight, 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 and you will win this term. So thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard two different points of view, two different experiences, but I think this will be a valuable conversation starter for later on during the evening. Thank you very much for our guests, and thank you very much for your attention.